Hey, I'm Jake. I make RPG supplements and videos about Pathfinder 2, or PF2. I love PF2. And as a longtime player of D&D, I want to share the things that I find along the way and share them with you in a way that hopefully makes them easy to digest and fun. I don't know about you, but when I think Necromancer, I think
black-hearted, pale master of the undead. With one hand they raise an army of zombies, and with the other they strip the life and flesh from their victims.
The Hallowed Necromancer is the antithesis of this. They use positive and negative energy as tools to destroy undead and heal or protect innocent people. So we are going to dive into my take on the Hallowed Necromancer concept, by request. This is going to be a long one. There are chapters below to help you navigate, and there are 2 different PDFs you can download for this build, one stopping at level 6 and one that goes to level 10. There are links in the description for them. For those of you who are still here, welcome! Let us begin the journey of the Holy Oracle. First, backstory. 'Cause backstory. Duh. Our character is a human named Smudge. Smudge was adopted by Lord Varen, an ancient and decrepit Nosferatu vampire, and taken into his home as a curiosity. The baby had an aura brighter than any he'd ever seen. Holding the child brought a palpable warmth to the ancient dead man, as close to sunlight as he could ever be again. When he placed the child in the gnomish hands of enslaved caretakers, their faces immediately brightened, not with joy, but with peace and renewed life. Lord Varen stared in fascination as their eyes cleared, scars faded, and even their wrinkles softened as they catered to the baby. He allowed the 2 women to live in his home in order to care for the growing anomaly that always seemed bathed in candlelight to the vampire. That candlelight faded gradually, but even as the child grew into a young man, there was a constant light shining in his eyes, to the empowered vision of Lord Varen at least. In that light, Varen felt an echo of what it was to be alive, and found himself hypnotized by that promise of life. He sometimes couldn't tear his eyes away for hours. To the other imprisoned creatures in and under Lord Varen's home, Smudge was a comforting friend. Warmth and light seemed to travel with the young man, who tried his best to care for them. It was what he was ordered to do, certainly, but also Smudge had a great deal of empathy for each of them. When he touched them, he felt their pain, lived their fear with them. You see, Smudge was a strangely blessed, or cursed, child. When he touched an item or person, a flood of images, sensations, and emotions entered his mind. He saw fear, pain, grief, and violence. His earliest memories were crowded with these pieces of other people, and so they became a part of him. He wasn't sure who he was or where he was most of the time. For some reason, the Vampire Lord was the only person he could touch that never showed him anything. No pain, no joy, no fear, nothing. For all his childhood and early teen years, he found comfort in the arms and in the lap of the thin, stinking cadaver. And so they spent many nights alone in the vampire's coffin together, the disease-riddled corpse of a man staring unblinking into the endless gulf of light in Smudge's eyes. Many years after this ritual began, Smudge began to feel something during these moments. Himself. Old memories never reviewed or absorbed slowly trickled through his heart. The loss of his parents and the pain he had felt for Lord Varen's slaves, called food by his trusted mentor. And he realized that he hated his papa, hated him deeply and forever. And somehow the vampire didn't see it on his young and innocent face. These moments spent with the old creature continued sporadically until he was 17, Smudge learning more about himself and training his mind to hide his fear of being discovered by the wretched monster. The Nosferatu Lord was so unaware of his servant's change of heart that when the young man finally gathered the courage to run away, none of the lesser undead in the mansion even rose to stop him. This leads us to the background we will choose, and it's one that I created. If you don't want to use this, you can use the Necromancer's Apprentice. It's close, especially in theme. Vampire's Apprentice. You were one of the servants of a powerful vampire. Surrounded by danger every day hardened your heart as it sharpened your mind. Your tasks included tending the wounds of your master's food supply to keep them alive longer, and keeping them calm and easier to control. You were also often expected to perform in some way for the vampires or their guests' amusement. Choose 2 ability boosts. One must be to Constitution or Intelligence, and one is a free ability boost. You're trained in Diplomacy or Performance, and the Undead Lore skill, you gain the No Cause for Alarm skill feat. That feat lets you make a Diplomacy check to reduce the frightened condition of all creatures in a 10-foot radius. I'm just picturing it. Please everyone be calm. Papa doesn't want to hurt you. Not really, he just needs your help. You only have to stay for a year and a day, and then he lets you go. And your family will never be hungry again. He told me so. I know it seems hard, but he helps the people that feed him. That is, until he figured out that they were just getting eaten after that year. Yeah, he's got trust issues. Hi. Our ancestry is human, heritage is versatile heritage, which gives us a general feat. Will you lay down? We'll use it to take a skill feat. That feat will be Read Psychometric Resonance. I'll summarize. With a touch, you can read the psychic impressions left on objects by their previous owners. This tells you emotions that are bound to an object, and you can spend a minute to see the face of the person that left the emotion, or anything else related if the GM wants. If the associated emotion is painfully negative, you might take 1d6 psychic damage as determined by the GM. This is a power that we've had all our lives, and we've seen and felt a huge number of things. Because of this gift, this spiritual curse, we are already tired of people, exhausted with life and emotions from pain and suffering, and we feel old. When we go into a public place, we have a mask we put up to meet people and to make things go smoothly. I think all of us introverts can relate. First level Ancestry feat. Keep up appearances. Roll a deception check and compare the result to any observing creature's perception DCs. On a success, that creature believes you were unaffected by an emotion effect that targeted you. A creature tricked in this manner can't benefit from the emotion effect and can't use abilities that require you to be under the emotion effect. This basically makes you resistant to enchantment or control spells and fits the whole never let them know what you're thinking thing. Because the person that cast the spell or used the ability, like the Vampire's Dominate ability, have to know that you are affected by it in order to give you commands. If you want to know about how an Oracle works, I'll go over it now. If you want to skip it, go to this time here. So level 1, Oracle class. An Oracle is a little hard to describe, but it's sort of like a cursed cleric with no deity. You were probably just born this way. You have a natural link to some type of cosmic force, and it has both positive and negative effects on you. You learn about your connection to this cosmic force eventually and use it to learn spells and to enhance the crappiness of the curse in order to exploit it and gain extra powers. We'll take the life mystery, as you may have guessed if you already know about oracles. It says, life energy flows outward from you and connects you to all living things, but you expend your vital essence to do so. Your presence comforts the ill and injured, causes scars to fade slightly, spurs new growth in plants, and otherwise infuses your surroundings with vitality. We get the choice of 2 spells to take as a revelation/focus spell. We'll choose Healer's Blessing. You cast it on an ally, and when they gain hit points from a healing spell, they get 2 extra hit points. Useful at low levels, but not really beyond that. You also get the revelation/focus spell Lifelink. You target an ally, and it heals them for 1d4 damage. Then from the first hit they take every round, they take 3 less damage, which you take instead. So it's a little bit of healing. Life oracles start out with 10 hit points per level, so they have extra hit points to throw around. Oracles start out with 2 focus points, which is pretty cool, because focus points are like raw spell energy. They can be used for any of your focus spells from any source. Along with each oracle mystery comes an oracle curse, and here's how they work. At first level, your curse can only be in its basic state, its minor state, or its moderate state, each of which has different effects. The Life Mystery Oracle gets the curse of outpouring life. At minor curse level, which is the stage you reach when you use one of your revelation/focus spells in a day, as your life force seeps outward, it becomes more difficult to keep your body functioning. Effects that restore hit points to you take a status penalty equal to half your level, minimum 1, to the number of hit points you recover. So like little cracks appear in your skin with light shining through. And if you get healed, the light leaks more. Like when positive energy goes into you, it also drips out. Maybe it even makes a seedling sprout where the life essence falls or something like that. Moderate Curse. This only happens if you've used 2 Revelation spells without resting or refocusing that day. You can only be magically healed by yourself unless you're unconscious, but then only up to 1 hit point. Items that heal you still work fine, like elixirs and potions. When you cast Heal and all your targets are living creatures, you roll d12s instead of d8s for the amount of healing. So yeah, big bump in healing. Whenever you finish casting a non-cantrip spell, you restore hit points equal to that spell level to either one target of the spell or to the creature nearest you. You can't heal yourself in this way. So like the cracks in your body widen, and it kind of looks like you're ice that's breaking apart. When you cast a spell, a bolt of golden white light shoots out of you and hits an ally, healing them. So if your party is struggling to fight, you'll want to cast 2 focus spells so you can pump out more heals. Specifically focus spells from Oracle, Revelation spells. I'm going to assume, as I will with all of my builds, that your GM allows use of the free Archetype feat. At level 2, you get an Archetype feat. We're going to further assume that your GM will allow you to hold it as unused for now because we need Expert Religion before we can take Hallowed Necromancer. If instead your GM just waives the requirement, as all the cool GMs do, then you could take Hallowed Necromancer Dedication here instead of at level 4, but I'll explain what the dedication does when we get to level 4. For the level 2 clasp feat, just pick whatever you want. The low-level Oracle feats don't make much of an impact and you don't have a lot of options. We'll take the Reach spell. It increases the range of a spell by 30 feet if you spend an action to do so first. It's sometimes really handy in battle. It'll vary. At level 2, you get your first non-background skill feat, and we'll take Courtly Graces. It says, you were raised among the nobility or have learned proper etiquette and bearing, allowing you to present yourself as a noble and play games of influence and politics. You can use society to make an impression on a noble, as well as with impersonate to pretend to be a noble if you aren't one. And of course, we aren't one. We were brought to social soirees and noble parties and vampire gatherings by Lord Varen while we were growing up, and we feared his furious punishment, so we learned quickly how to act like a pompous aristocratic vampire. At level 3, we get our first general feat. We will take Adopted Ancestry Gnome. Our 2 mothers were both gnomes and taught us nature and fey things, including the magic of light. At level 3, you get your first skill increase, and we'll choose Religion to make it expert so you can take Hallowed Necromancer next level. This is the strangest part of the archetype, that expert religion requirement. The only ways you can take this archetype at level 2 involve your GM fudging some sort of rule somewhere. Anyway, at level 4, we get another skill feat and we'll take Eyes of the City. You can track down targets with the help of locals. You can use diplomacy or society, whichever you're trained in, to track creatures in settlements. You chat with locals to help follow the trail of creatures you track. This isn't because we're any good in a city. We have 0 experience in cities, but we have an innate connection to people. Empathic skills, general charm, soothing demeanor, and practice talking with vampires and other monsters. It makes talking with normal people pretty easy. For our level 4 class feat, we will finally take the Hallowed Necromancer Dedication. It gives you the focus spell Hallowed Ground, which gives you a focus point. So you have a total of 3 now. Hallowed Ground says, each undead creature in the area takes 1d6 positive damage and 1d4 good damage. Then any undead that are in that area take 1 extra damage from positive sources and or your necromancy spells. I kind of think of using this ability as sort of like, we have a sense of the connections this plane has with the positive energy plane. And so we weaken the membrane between planes, and a small area of pure life energy leaks through. You also have a restriction placed on you, an Anathema. If you create, heal, or help undead in any way, you lose all access to all feats from the Hallowed Necromancer archetype. These abilities can only be regained with an Atone ritual. This will probably never be a problem, unless your GM arranges it, maybe like for a fun story purpose, or because he's a dick. For the level 4 archetype, we'll take the Hallowed Necromancer feat Sacred Spells. You add Chill Touch, Death Ward, Disrupt Undead, Disrupting Weapons, Holy Cascade Magic Stone, and Sunburst to your spell list. We get to add 2 of these to our repertoire, and they're also considered signature spells, meaning you can upcast them without having to learn them at a higher level later. It's just added flexibility. It's cool. Also, they are necromancy spells for you, which means nothing to you now, but I promise it'll at least matter a little bit later. Just stick with me. Now at level 4, we will use our second archetype feat that our sweet beloved GM allowed us to keep from earlier, and we'll use it on Hallowed Initiate for Death's Call. It would give you a focus point, but we already have 3, so that's the max you can have. This is a reaction that gives you temporary hit points if a creature within 20 feet of you dies, or if an undead creature is destroyed. If they were living, you get temporary hit points equal to their level, plus your charisma modifier. If they're undead, you get double that. So this is like creating a little bubble of light energy around us, like a force shield. At level 5, we get another Ancestry feat, and we'll take the Gnome Ancestry feat, Unexpected Shift. It says, your supernatural connection sometimes causes you to phase from reality when under threat, disappearing for split seconds before reappearing, often surprising you as much as your enemies. You roll a d20, and on a 16 or higher, you gain resistance to all damage equal to your level against the triggering effect, so it's a reaction. And you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to saving throws against that effect. So for this character, when the power activates successfully, your body becomes pure white light for a moment where you're hit. The blow just goes through you with minimal damage. Now at some point before 6th level, you're in a battle, and you increase your curse past moderate. The cracks in your skin widen and positive energy bursts from you. And I mean bursts, you explode and pieces of you fly everywhere. Maybe this positive energy rescues your party in a dire situation, doing some major healing. Or maybe it leaves a permanent rift to the positive energy plane. It could even be tied to the mission, an evil altar or sinkhole of negative energy needs to be destroyed or something. And with your dying breath, you purify the region. Something really dramatic. While your friends gather your body parts, you watch on as a disembodied spirit for a few seconds. Then your view fades into white. Then suddenly you wake up in the tavern you were all sleeping in, seemingly unharmed. You walk past tables of drunk, sleeping, or mindless faces, to the stairs, and then to the room that your party rented as a group. The door is open for some reason, so you walk in. A friend and ally reads studiously by candlelight, while the rest of your friends sleep a deserved rest. You see your pack laying against a wall. Hi guys, I'm glad I found you. What happened? Or at least you would have said that if your first couple words hadn't roused your warrior to battle with a half-asleep yell. Then, all eyes on you, your rudely awakened friends just stare straight through you to the closed door behind. So now you're a ghost, because this is fucking Pathfinder. I'm about to explain how the ghost archetype works. If you already know it and don't want to hear it, you can skip to this time. At level 6, we will take the archetype feat Ghost Dedication. It has the prerequisite, you died, and returned as a ghost. Now obviously this requires GM permission, so here's how it works. You gain the ghost, spirit, and undead traits and the basic undead benefits. Your undead craving is to settle your unfinished business, which in this case is probably either killing Lord Varen, or killing all vampires, or killing all undead, something like that. Really lofty. Yes, hello. You also gain the incorporeal trait, except you can't pass through solid objects unless you select the pass through feat. That's for balance. I know, kinda sad, but this is still a kick-ass archetype. You get low light vision. You also get negative healing, meaning you are damaged by positive damage and aren't healed by positive healing effects. You don't take negative damage and are healed by negative effects that heal undead. You're also immune to death effects, 'cause you're dead, bitch. And disease and poison protection. You gain a +1 circumstance bonus to saving throws or any other defense against disease and poison. This is stupid. It even says that you're incorporeal. Oh, it doesn't say you don't have to breathe either, so you must have to breathe and eat and drink and sleep. If it's a magical disease, I could see maybe it has some sort of effect, like on your soul. Like maybe mummy rot lingers for some reason. But seriously, come on. Okay, so obviously I'd say that you're immune to disease and poison. That's me. Because how are you gonna catch a disease? You also gain floating. You can float, but are still tethered to the ground. Replace your land speed with an equal fly speed. You can't rise more than a few inches off the ground when you fly. This means you can move above many types of difficult or hazardous terrain without moving slowly or being damaged, even though you can't fly without limit. Yet. This actually makes some sense to me psychologically. Like, when you hear ghost stories, people tend to still walk around their home, not float around it. If we die, we don't relate to flying because we've never done it on our own before. Like, you have to learn that you have different laws of physics than living people. Also, you can transmute physical items to make them part of your incorporeal form. Your weapons get ghost touch, so you can use them against both corporeal and incorporeal creatures. Incorporated items become corporeal again only if you transmute them back or you are destroyed, in which case they drop to the ground under you. Your unarmed attacks become magical and deal negative damage instead of their normal type. There's a build in here for Monk Ghost. I might work on that later. Also, corporeal creatures can't grab you, cause you ain't got no body. On a personal note, our character feels pretty good about this change. No longer do we feel our body falling apart or failing to function. There's no pain either. We don't even have to touch things or people unless we want to. Strangely, becoming undead is something that actually makes us feel more relaxed and free, more alive. For the level 6 class feat, we'll take Frightful Moan. Every living creature in 30 feet has to make a save or get the frightened condition. Now, we have lived out our life literally giving our energy to people and being owned. And now that we died, we feel great. So I think this should be laughter instead of a moan. Maybe mad raucous laughter bubbling up from deep inside, just a feeling of pure joy at being dead. Perhaps tinged with a little mania. Ghosts are not known for their mental stability. Also at level 6, we get a skill feat. We'll take Chromotherapy. You can relieve persistent damage using colored light. Your mama's touch ya. When using a torch, lantern, or other artificial light source to illuminate an area, you use different tools like colored lenses to turn that light one of 7 colors. You can do this for anyone in the radius of your light source instead of needing to be adjacent to you. This can be used to stop persistent cold damage, electricity damage, mental damage, bleeding, fire, acid, and poison. This is absolutely something that we can do if we've previously cast Continual Flame 7 times. You can use different colors of gemstone dust to make different colors of light. Or at least you could in 3.5, so I'm keeping it. So you have 7 different Continual Flame enchanted items that are either kept in a pouch or are otherwise covered most of the time. Next at level 7, we get another general feat, Aura Sight. You've learned how to read the natural auras of living creatures. You get the target's current apparent attitude toward you, friendly, indifferent, and so on, the target's current apparent emotional state, a general assessment of the target's physical health, and you may be able to identify if they're being deceptive in some way, like expressing a false attitude toward you or faking an emotional state. Now that we're dead, we are so much more in tune with our spirit and that of others. We see energy and colors in people, and maybe now we can even see our own inner light and appreciate ourselves a little more. Now for our level 8 archetype feat, we'll take Ghost Flight. Once per day for up to 10 minutes, you can fly at your move speed with no restriction on height. That's awesome. At level 8 for our class feat, we'll go back to Hallowed Necromancer for Advanced Hallowed Spell for Life Siphon. When you use a necromancy spell, you can use a focus point and heal yourself 1d8 per level of the necromancy spell. This works even on a ghost, because it doesn't have the positive energy trait, or negative energy trait, just heals you. And this is why all those random necromancy spells matter now. Like positive energy sunburst heals you. That's weird. Next is our level 8 skill feat, and we'll take additional lore necromancy. We were raised by a vampire lord, we're a ghost now, and we use positive energy and fight undead constantly. It's kind of a no-brainer. At level 9, we get another Ancestry feat. We'll take Multitalented from Human Ancestry. This is so awesome. You gain a 2nd level multi-class dedication feat, even if you normally couldn't take another dedication feat until you take more feats from your current archetype. And we'll take Champion multi-class dedication, choosing Liberator. That's the neutral good one. No, that's the chaotic good one. Chaotic good. You're committed to defending the freedom of others. You must respect the choices others make over their own lives, and you can't force someone to act in a particular way or threaten them if they don't. Yeah. You must demand and fight for others' freedom to make their own decisions. You may never engage in or accept or support slavery or tyranny. It makes total sense for this character. I left out that we have to take basic devotion here as part of the champion archetype. It gives us a level 1 or level 2 champion feat, and we're going to take desperate prayer, which as a free action, if you start your turn with no focus points, you can immediately get 1 focus point back. At level 10, we'll spend our free archetype feat on the champion's advanced devotion, so we get another champion feat, and we'll pick Aura of Courage. Whenever you become frightened, reduce the condition value by 1. At the end of your turn, when you would reduce your frightened condition value by 1, you also reduce the value by 1 for all allies within 15 feet. This is sort of more like an aura of peace for this character. Everybody in 15 feet can see our eyes and skin glowing with white light at all times now, and they find themselves comforted, and they feel a little safer around us. For the last skill feat, we'll be choosing on this build Hobnobber at level 10. That's a weird name. You are skilled at learning information through conversation. Gather information takes half as long as normal. It just makes sense for this character. If we're really comfortable talking to people, then it makes sense that people will be more willing to give us info. They just like us. Now we address the elephant ghost in the room. Won't healing yourself as a ghost, or for that matter doing anything to help yourself, be assisting an undead for purposes of the Hallowed Necromancer's Anathema? Yes. Or no. You and your GM will have to decide. Technically, the Hallowed Necromancer Anathema says, casting spells that create, heal, or otherwise aid or promote undead is anathema to you, as is cooperation with undead. If you are undead, you aren't cooperating with yourself, so you're good there. Casting spells that promote undead? Easy to avoid, just don't do that. Casting spells that create undead? Just don't do that either. Now, casting spells that heal or otherwise aid undead, that's a problem. Because you could avoid aiding yourself with spells if you only use your spells to help your allies or kill enemies. But if you don't heal yourself, your adventuring career is going to be difficult and short. And that's fine for some people. Ghosts have a lot of resistances and stuff, so maybe you'll be alright if you just, hide during combat and heal from range or blast undead from range. You could ask your GM to interpret the Anathema interaction as, "Thou shalt not use thine spells to heal or aid thy undead brethren, for thou art a grand bastion for the living soul, and therefore..." UI. Or you could go with my favorite option, reverse the negative healing trait and be a positive energy spirit. You lose immunity to negative energy, but you can still heal yourself, and you are set apart from the natural order. A holy, righteous spirit to annihilate the undead. The Hallowed Necromancer Anathema simply doesn't apply to you. You are the exception to the law in order to lay other spirits to rest and rebalance the Great Spiral. If this is a problem for your GM, you could offer to have a weakness to negative energy, too. Which should make them happy, because it's way more likely for an enemy to use negative energy than positive energy. Well, then sit down. Another idea I had is that since we spent so much damn time in the dark with a horrible monster staring into our eyes for literal hours in order to figure out how to be ourselves, maybe we're afraid of the dark. So our oracle powers sometimes don't work in the dark, or maybe not at all if it's dark and we're in combat, like the stress of the situation. So we have to spend time pulling out light before doing anything else. This might make you more balanced, and it's good role-playing. Just great, meaty role-playing. I have a great image for this character. You're a holy spirit of light and life. Flying around the battlefield, your skin and eyes glow. You shed rainbow-colored light and shoot freaking laser beams at monsters and fire bolts of healing light at your friends. And this isn't just if you build to 10th level. You're a radiant spirit at level 6. And even before that, you seem like some angel healing people, consoling them with your empathy, and making freaking plants grow as you walk or whatever. I really like oracles. This is awesome. There is so much room for expression in oracles. And in others, but this was fun. If you don't want to take the ghost archetype, you could instead go Soul Warden. You could even take Ghost and then Soul Warden if you wanted it, as they both fit the flavor for the Hallowed Necromancer. So instead of the ghost powers, you'd get you and your allies would do extra damage against undead, whether it's spells or attacks. Or you get a little Psychopomp familiar. I like the idea of having a little positive or negative energy glowing white wisp that flies around and shoots positive energy beams, whether you are a ghost or not. That's just cool. Okay, well, this has been a blast. I love this character. I also just love stories, and this character has a good one. I am grateful that you joined me today. Thank you for being here. If you want to make sure to catch the next build I make, hitting the subscribe button is a good way to bookmark the page so you can remember to check back later and see what I've done. This build walkthrough is on my website. The link is in the description, and it has a suggested spell list and a PDF of this character's fillable character sheet already built for 6th level or 10th. Either one, you'll find both there. And everything I said, plus more. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know what videos are hit or miss. And feel free to leave a comment if I missed something or if you have ideas that could go with this build. I would love to hear what you have to say. It seems like it'd be fun to work on it together. And remember, food doesn't really go bad. It's just that something else starts eating it before you. So at least you can be happy that you're feeding something else by not eating your food. It's not going to waste.